This is another episode of the Mind, Body and Pipeline podcast. I'm really excited for today's conversation with James Urquhart. James and I have known of each other for a few years and we came together in the last few months. I'm fascinated by how he does long distance running. We had a couple of conversations about it and I thought what an amazing story to tell and share with some of our audience. James currently owns a social media monitoring business called Rupert. He's had a couple of other B2B supply businesses before. We're really excited to have him join us on one of our events, and he brings a unique perspective to this topic and shows that you don't need to put lots of training into what you do. He's a very big believer of the mental resilience and also a strong believer that running is something that everybody should be doing. We'll be diving into some powerful insights on the link between health, fitness and business success and what that means to James. So let's jump right in. James, thanks again for joining me. And we've met obviously before, but we've talked about you, the business, well, the couple of businesses that you've been involved with the last few months, particularly last few years. And then obviously your fitness journey, your training routines. But for anybody watching this who might not be familiar with your work or with you, can you give a quick intro into what you do? And then I'd love to hear how your focus on health and fitness has impacted the way that you approach your business.
Well, no one's going to know who I am, Guy. Let's just make that clear from day one, right? No one is going to know who I am, give a shit who I am. So let's just make that clear. The 4 people of your audience that may know me. Hi again.
There's 5 of them.
5, yeah, sorry, the 5. Nice to meet you all again. To everyone else, hello. So well, my name's James. I've got a surname that no one can spell, but it's spelled Urquhart. I have recently exited 2 of my agencies to start a new venture, which we'll discuss. One was a data agency business, so prospect lists, typically in the automotive sector. So started that in 2009 during a recession, which was fun with my business partner, Nick. We then built that over the last 15 years, and we've just recently sold that to a firm in Manchester called Go Live Data, who've got some really cool tech and are trying to infiltrate the automotive sector more. So it's a really good acquisition for those guys. 2019, set up a paid social media agency because of GDPR and a lot of clients and budgets were naturally moving digitally. And I went, well, I still need some of that slice of my pie. So then set up the paid social agency, which we realized very quickly, actually, our skills are very transferable from data to paid social. Built that over the last 5 years and just exited that as well, which means I'm now unemployed with a platform called Rupert that I can't sell. So that's a brief whistle-stop tour. Rupert, just for those that will not know, is a platform to help brands and agencies combat the issues with comments on your paid and organic social. It's a massive issue. I used to have clients all the time moaning that they had bad comments over the weekend or out of hours, or no one had responded to them. Obviously, as an agency, it wasn't something that we did, and I still believe brands themselves should be replying to these comments. So trying to find a platform that helped combat and just give them a bit of autonomy was very difficult. So I decided to build it. So for the last 2 years, shall I say, I've been building Rupert, which is now a live platform, and actually got some customers using it, which is pretty cool. So that's it.
You can sell it.
Wow, it's a few people are using it.
And then the health and fitness and how that sort of impacted your approach to business. I can see the medals behind you, for example. So I know you've got a very nonchalant approach, which we'll come on to. And I remember when you said to me, when you ran an ultra, you said, you don't really need to train, it's all here. But it must mean something to you, right? And what it's meant to the business over the past few years.
Training is an interesting one, because obviously the problem of being a business owner, and I hate the way of things like entrepreneur and stuff.
I don't like it either.
Just a load of shit. Yeah. You don't have time, right? So you don't have time. You just do not have unlimited, especially if you've got a young family or a family. So especially when your kids are pretty up to 6 or 7, it's tough. Your partner, your other half, whoever it is, your wife, boyfriend, husband, it's really difficult to fit in time to train. So if you were going to go to a gym to do CrossFit, Hyrox, I know you do a Hyrox, Guy, but by the time I used to do CrossFit, right? So you used to go to the gym, that's 20 minutes. You'd get there 10 minutes early, so that's actually half an hour. Then you've got your lesson, your class, which is, let's say it's an hour. Then you've got your 10 minute after. So it's not an hour, it's 2 hours, isn't it? Now, if you do that in the evenings and you leave at 6, well, you're not back to 8. So who's putting the kids to bed? and then you start your to and fro. So it's really, really difficult just to fit in any fitness work. So although I used to do a bit of CrossFit, which I really did enjoy, I'm not a massive fan of the gym, but I do like running. So I used to play a lot of sport. I used to play a lot of football, bit of rugby league, and then decided to get back into running probably say 6 years ago, give or take. Did a bit of cross country at school. I was never like a runner. I'm 5'6", so I'm a bit chubby. I'm not a racing snake like you are, you know what I mean? I look like a fat runner basically that does a marathon. That's what I look like, right? Bit chubby around the side, but I get away with it because I wear extra large hoodies, so I look cool. I always look skinny. But I started running about 6 years ago, and I love it. So I just love running. Just anyone that doesn't run, you're an idiot. I'm not having it. It's the time where you're obviously thinking about stuff, but it's not impacting. You're not stressed. Now, there is some science behind it about the left and right side of the brain, which I don't know, but I know there's some science behind it. But for me, running is just that pure de-stress zone. It doesn't matter what's going on. It just totally de-stresses you completely. And I know obviously that people find that in other segments, things like swimming, cycling. But for me, although I've done a half Ironman and stuff, the running element for me is where I truly believe that you just totally forget about what's going on, and you can really just ponder on life and decisions and consequences and just chill out, but while doing something.
And so I'm similar. The reason I got into the functional fitness and the HIIT style workouts is, for me, the five-a-side football and the tennis had stopped blocking out the constant thinking about work and about business and about clients and about team members and all that type of stuff. The high rock sessions completely block it out. You're just focusing on, but running is interesting because some people say they just get that brain space, but others actually say that the 6 or 7 things on their to-do list, the 2 or 3 rise to the top and they almost solve those challenges. Which one is it for you, if any?
I'd say a bit of both, really. It depends what mood I'm in, and that sounds mad. So when I run, I typically listen to a podcast, or I'll listen to really bad music that most people say. Okay. So the type of music I'm into, guys, just to give a little context to this. People that know me, again, there's 5 people that might know me, is I listen to this guy when I run.
I went to an open air concert of his years ago, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
I go twice a year. The guy's an absolute legend.
I saw one of you were chatting about it recently on the podcast, and you're talking about how he's redefined himself in his personal brand. It's incredible. We could talk about James Bond for hours, but you listen, Goodbye My Lover, is that the opening part of the run, or is that the closing part?
Hey, I could. There's the whole lot, mate. All the Lost Souls. I kept for all of them. But no, I listen to that, or I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So, and if I'm going for just a jog, I'll probably listen to podcasts. I'm just around the world. But if I'm doing a training set, I'll probably listen to some music opposed to doing it that way. But no, I sort of go into just a bit of both. Really depends what mood I'm in, what challenges I've got. The hardest thing is going out and doing it. So I've got really severe ADHD, so really severe, badly, which is annoying. And for people that say it's a superpower, and I'm telling you now, I've had it since all my life, and a superpower. It's the biggest pain in the ass going. It's not good, but I don't medicate. I used to medicate all my life until I was, I think it was 13, and then they put me on this Ritalin drug, which was the worst thing. That basically made me a zombie in class. Just sat there, just couldn't even talk. It was really weird. Refused to go on. I've just sort of self-doubt of it now. But the running and exercise stuff really helps with that. Really helps with that. Can't remember, I was going off on a tangent now because I'm talking about Ritalin, and I could go on for hours for that.
Is there maybe why you run, or what you get out of the
run? So I was going back in the time, but because of my ADHD, let's say I said I'm going to do a 10k today, right? And it's 11:52 p.m. I'll go out for that run. So a lot of actually people in my network who've got me traveling, like, why you run at 10 o'clock at night? You're an idiot. Because I've said I'll do it and I've not had time to do it. I will go out and do it. Whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working late or whatever, I will have to go and do that run. Although I know that it's going to drag me out for the next 12 hours because I'm an idiot and I shouldn't be running at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it is, I'll still go and do it because I have to do it.
For your mental health?
I don't know if it's, I just have to do it. I just if I didn't do it, I'd be really annoyed.
Is it because you've said you do something and then, because I've got that. If I say I do something, if I say, even from work perspective, I'll get that to you on Thursday afternoon. I might even you'll have it before Friday morning, allowing me to do it late at night or early in the morning. But it's that if you do essentially just want to do what you say you're going to do.
Well, like this podcast, like quite you before this, I've got some family issues at the moment. Could do without it, really, but I promise you I'll do it. And here I am. So it's an element of you've got to do it. But actually what's lovely is that it's good that it's a run and not I don't know, smoking a bifter or something like that. I mean, so at least it's not a bad thing to do. It's like, I've got to go for a run. Great.
I know. A couple of defining moments, maybe. The ADHD. When did you first realize that it could be a form of medication, the running and the exercise? And continuing on that, you've been running for about 5-6 years properly or taking it seriously. Was that the time? When was there the moment when you thought, well, if I say I'm going to go for a run every day, every second day, I've got to do it? What was that?
No, this has just been me in my entire existence. Is if something's going to be done, it has to be done. That's always been that's in my psyche. I've got to be able to do it. But in terms of exercise with the ADHD, I'm like a dog. If you don't take your dog out, right? If I walk in the house and I say, have you taken the dog out? And someone goes, and I'll look at them and go, I haven't. I can see he hasn't been out. I can know that dog hasn't been out. Same with me. I'll know the difference if I've been, and people around will know if I've been running or not, or if I have been exercising. You'll be able to see I'm a grumpy git. I'm a right toad, basically.
And running's what you found better than the CrossFit, better than obviously the cycling. I know you've mentioned to me before you don't love it. Or
what's that about?
Because
what is that about? These cyclists, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Any of you cyclists out there, you're talking shit, because it's lovely for an Ironman and you can have your medal, right? Apart from actually enjoying cycling, shit. End of. Just stop it. It's
cool. And what about the swimming? Because I met a guy a while ago and he swims for solace. Did you find any of that when you were swimming?
Swimming was weird. When is it? I think it was. Let's say it was 3 years. Oh, there it is. It's the first one in front of me. What's the date on that? No, brilliant. Great medal, doesn't have the date on. Let's say it was 3 years ago, right? I couldn't swim. So what am I? Early 30s by that point. It's quite embarrassing, isn't it? You can't swim. So I just learned to swim from scratch, and obviously went to the pool and stuff. But it's a weird time warp swimming, and I can see what he means by that. It's a weird one. I think once you get good at something like swimming, a bit like running, really, I think you can just go into like a little world. I can go into a little world, and some of you can 10K and go, oh shit, brilliant. And I can see how that does. But it's a lot with swimming. It's a lot about your breathing. So when I, learning to swim is not so much about swimming. It's about the breathing technique, which was the hardest bit. I was just assuming that you'd just be all right. It's really hard, actually, really difficult. But I can see how you can go and train little world of swimming. I can see that.
Doesn't sound much like you've got a routine to your running, but because you talk about just fitting it, I'm going to go for a 10K run today. Do you start, maybe not necessarily planning the week out, but if you were to, would you say, and it might be different, it might be a nice question actually when you're training for the Ironman and how you fit it in and prioritized it around the 2 agencies that you had. That's what I suppose that's what I'm trying to get to. If at the moment you're obviously building Rupert, got rid of the agencies, you sort of, I want to go for a run today. Is the plan in general, when you're maybe not training for an event, do you do 60K a week? Is that sort of a plan? And then how do you fit that in? And I know you're very different on this and it is interesting, but if you're training for the Ironman, knowing, because I've started researching, I'm interested in triathlon and things like that, I think it's just the next step from high rocks being that multi-dimensional sort of sport. People have talked to me about the training volume, 20, 25 hours a week. Can you talk a bit about how you prioritize?
So with the Ironman, obviously you've got 3 disciplines, 2 of which I've never done. So I've never swam and I've never cycled, of which obviously cycling I really enjoyed, as you can tell. So it was really hard. I shouldn't say it. I say this quite a bit. So I blagged that Weymouth half Ironman. I really did, if I'm honest. When you look at, and anyone goes, look at my Strava, prior to that, it was obscene. I didn't really do a lot of running, really. I did a bit of swimming. So to give you an idea, right? So the week before the Weymouth, I hadn't done any open water swimming. So I'm like, fuck, I'm going to have to find a race. So I've done a couple of, actually, maybe I've done one, but it was like on a lake. I'm going on a Weymouth for a rough sea. And I actually went into a group that I was like, look, I've never done the triathlon in Wales in I can't remember, it was Swansea, where I think it was. So I thought, right, I'll do that one, which would be great because it means that I can just get the open water bit because it's the same similar length. I got this lake in Swansea, and the swells were what, 4 or 5 meters high. It was horrendous. And bear in mind, I'm not a good swimmer. I hate swimming. I just don't want to die, which was the literally. So did that the week before just to go, I'm all right, I can survive it. That's about as much as I did for prep.
For the first one.
Training, apart from doing the bits on the bike and stuff, but not huge amounts. Like, I know I said to you this before when we originally spoke, which is, I truly believe you've got to have some fitness. So aerobically, you've got to have some fitness background. And I truly believe there's most 99% of people could put on some running trainers or sit on a bike and do a certain length of either time or distance. They 100% can. They choose not to. I truly believe it, because when you look at, and I can only use myself as a sort of looking at my own data. So to give you another idea, so 2 weeks ago I did the Glasgow to Edinburgh race. That's 57 miles. It's a long race. I've not trained for 6 months because I was injured from December to June. I then did a little bit of training. I did 3 weeks of back-to-back half marathons, which is 21K, as you know. That's the training I did. I came, 67th in that race out of 700, 800 people. And that's not loads of training. You'd look at my Strava and go, well, how has he done that? It's fucking horrendous. I was in agony. But it's not a lactic acid builder, because it's an 8 build-up. And this is what I try and say to people when they talk about ultras. And Claire, she will have it. It's not like you're sprinting. It's not like high rocks where it's a burn. It's an ache. So as long as you can get past I don't mind this ache. Well, don't mind. I can deal with the ache. Then you can just crack on. As long as your heart rate's low, you can just generally crack on. But it hurts. And you've just got to get past the hurt. And once you get past that, you're all right.
It's interesting. It's very different to lots of people's approach, I think, your approach. How has that taught you anything about when business gets tough, when that ache comes in business? Has it helped? Has there been any link that you found? Have you done that on, I don't know, is it some sort of trial and tribulation that you want to put yourself through to learn about the tough times? Is there nothing as logical as that with it?
I think there's elements of that. So I've never done a normal marathon, so I refuse to do it. It's just got no interest in it. So the only road marathon I've ever done is the Langdale, which is the hardest marathon in the road marathon in the UK. Horrendous. It's like that. It's in the lake somewhere. I don't know. I can't remember what it was now, but it's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Again, I actually did a little bit more training for that one and came 13th in that one.
Very good.
Take that all day. A really good time. And in mountains like that, it's horrendous. It's a bad marathon. But I think I like the challenge of not training. So like this weekend, I went to Derby with a lad, Rob. I said, we'll just do a marathon this weekend in Derby. So I said, look, I'll pick you up at Derby. We'll just go for a run. We just did a marathon on Saturday, just because there's no build up to it. I didn't finish work till 1:30 that morning. And it's just, I think there's an element of I quite enjoy you can do it. You can do it. It's not about the time. It's about actually finishing it with very little prep. And in terms of work, so many businesses struggle, and not because they're bad businesses or bad products or bad services. I think a lot of it is because they don't want to do the hard stuff. I know that sounds really, really harsh. I know we spoke about it when we first met. I speak about this a lot, things like cold calling, picking up the phone and doing stuff that people don't want to do. Post on LinkedIn, which people I know don't want to do because you get any WhatsApp mate group and your mates go, you look like such a bellend. And I'm like, I know. But it pays the bills, so I got to do it. I don't want to cold call. I don't want to cold email because people might, all that stuff from a marketing, obviously, perspective, where I'm looking at that from. It's the hard stuff that people don't generally like to do. If you do all that and you put in more effort, you'll get better and the business will grow, in my opinion, of course. Obviously, there's lots of different caveats to that. But it's a bit like running one foot in front of the other. You're not going to finish the race by 1 foot. But if you do, after 57 miles, you might get to the end and you'll be there. 1 foot is another LinkedIn post. 1 foot is another email. 1 foot is
nice.
Keep going and going. You may never get to the end. I think we were speaking last time, which is very few businesses, and obviously I won't go into the budget, but very few businesses earn money to give the owners what they crave, which is wealth and to prosper, because although we are put on pedestals as business owners, very few are making money. I've had this discussion for years, which is I'm better off having a job.
I know.
You know, it's really, really tricky, and it's hard. And you know, I think health, and especially obviously you've had Claire on this, and Claire's, Jesus, I've looked at her Strava. Jesus Christ, that's incredible. It's just disgusting.
She'll just go off, and because I'm in that marketing run club group, sometimes she just somebody else will do a picture of her Strava, and she's just dusted off like a 88 miler in the lakes. Just gone and done it the weekend.
It's madness. But that stuff that's a true reflection of a business world, isn't it? Or journey, which is it's up and down, it's shit, it's cold, it's wet, you by yourself a lot of the time.
I know.
There's a lot of similarities actually between the two.
No, there are. No, I like that. I'm just slowly getting into running myself, and it's definitely, I'm going to go for one at some point later on today, but I'm not sure if I love it yet. I haven't quite found that place that you guys have found. I found it periodically once. I did a half marathon on a random Tuesday. I just felt really good, and I just wanted to do it. But that was, and the glory, that last kilometer, as I sort of came back in towards my house, I thought, but I haven't found it outside of that. Particularly the first few K I found particularly challenging. But again, there's probably some business link there as well, isn't there? Getting started is hard.
First 6K is hard. Even now, I hate the first 6K. I've got no interest in it. It annoys me. It takes me that amount of time for my heart rate to stabilize. It's just really weird. After 6, I'm right. But even this weekend, first 6K, I was like, I could do without this. I've gone over 40K to do it. This is crap. This is pants. But you get past that first bit, and it just gets, well, I don't think it gets easier. And I think actually, if you would, again, you're going to put this from a business perspective. The first K is getting setting up a business, getting your first couple of clients. Brilliant. We've got some sort of foundation to work from. Right now the real work cracks on. Now I've got to grow it or become profitable or create new products and services or actually service those clients we've currently got, whatever that may be. Is that pretty first 6K for me is pretty that initial, pretty where I am with Rupert at the moment. You've built it, we've got a few customers, but there's a lot to do and it's going to take time, but it's just one foot from the other. That's all.
You might have a relaxed answer to this, but any goals with the fitness side of things?
Well, I did. There's one that I wanted to do UTMB. So that's Mont Blanc. So that's a 7-mile race in the Mont Blanc mountain. Sort of like the World Cup of ultra running. I wanted to qualify for it last year, but then obviously got injured, which was a pain. So that's something I really want to do. It's become a bit commercialized now. So now I don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like, don't have any. I like, again, I know you can say it's lax. It really is. Like, I'll always get a text from someone, you've seen this race? And I'll go, that looks good. I'll book it. Like, even like doing the Chester 50 next year, in sort of early next year. I do that. I've got that booked. And I want to place I've said to the lad I was training with, Rob, at the weekend, we're doing it together. I've sort of said, look, we'll sort of set a target for that. So I think we're going to try and target the top 50. Could be some going. So we'll see how we get on. But I
train for that one.
Yeah, I'll do my training. I won't not Claire training. I'll do my training, which is just make sure you do enough. But it's weird. Like, their own different training. Like, again, this is taking it back to business. Everyone's got different ways to skin a cat. So the reason why I trained the way I did for the Glasgow to Edinburgh is a race in called the Moab 100. Okay, it's a really prestigious race, and the winner of that was just like a dude in his 40s, right, long hair, just won this race and then left. Literally like my beer type, right, I think. And there was watch these vloggers on YouTube, and this guy, he came in like 4th, 5th. So again, good run of these guys, very good. He tried to find the winner to do a podcast, but he couldn't find him. So these guys are already gone home. Like, there's no achievement there. He's like, I'll sort the kids out type thing. Literally this. I then found a podcast of him actually saying, look, can you do a podcast? Which he did. And he said, I've looked at your Strava. Bear in mind, this guy's just won the Moab 100. Like, this is a big race. The only training he did was back-to-back 30K. That's all he's done. And the guy that was the sort of vlogger was like, I've looked at your Strava, I can't understand it. How like, it's not like me finishing a race. This guy's won it. Like, this is a proper runner. It's not like me. This is a proper runner. And again, he looks like a runner. He's thin, he's tall. The guy was in shock when he looked at his Strava. He was in shock. And he said, is that Jenny? He said, that's all I've done. I've got 3 kids. His kids are running around the house, which is he's in America. And he said, I haven't got time to train like I used to back in the day. But he's got a level of fitness, you see.
Yeah.
Past life. And now all it is just that I guess that ticking over, like, I think once you've got, especially as a kid, or you've done a certain, you've been semi-pro at football or something, you've got a certain level of fitness from a previous life.
Yeah.
It takes too long to get it going again.
I'd agree with that. There's people that I've met over the last year who maybe did some cross country at school, played football to quite a high level, were running around an awful lot in their early 20s. They break down those barriers to fitness quite quickly.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm sure there's some science behind it. I'm convinced of it.
I agree. No, I definitely agree, because you do get some people that come in and they say, I'm not really a runner. And I've started to ask the question, but have you run years ago? And they say, oh, yeah, used to, like level. And then within a few weeks, you're like, they're dusting off. You've gone from doing a 55-minute 10K to like 38-minute 10K. And you're like, that muscle memory kicking back in the course of a few months, where it would take somebody years to do that if they'd never run, done anything.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I mean is like, people at kit at school have done some type of activity, haven't they? Or rugby, football, they've done some level. So that's what I say is when I laugh and people go, oh, I can't run 10K. So, you couldn't you? Like, you have to walk a bit, but you could run 10K. If it was life and death, your trainers would be on, wouldn't they? They'd be on and you'd be on. You can do it. Whether you want to is a whole different together, but you could do it.
When you had the 6 months out, how was that for you? Yeah.
It was annoying, actually. So I don't get it. So again, so James Brown, who it is, so we work in a shared office in Leamington, really cool thing. And met James through there, bit of a runner as well, and been for quite a few runs to him. And he's like, you never warm up. I'm like, no, don't warm up, mate. Got no interest in that. It's like, how? Well, like, why are you not injured? I'm fine. So I don't warm up, right? Never warm up. I don't believe in it, right? I reckon, I'm convinced it's just Nike's way to sell us more trainers, right? To warm up. I'm convinced of it, right? So I don't warm up and I don't warm down. That's my one motto. Got no interest in it. Because when I do, I get fucking a pain. So I'm like, well, if I don't warm up and I don't get pain, let's do that. Even on Saturday, no warm up. Rob's there doing all his stretches. I'm like, let's just get going. Let's rock and roll now. I started, because I was planning to start training for the UTMB, I then started bringing in some body weight movements in the house. And I was doing some plots in the kitchen, just not low. You know what pistol squat is? No, not low, but mate, I was doing that. I did one, and I was like, oh, that feels a bit fit. Thought nothing of it. Went to Scotland for Christmas, was doing some training there, got back, couldn't run. I was in agony. And I figured it out because I was like, where's this coming from? I don't get injured. And it was that pistol squat. It was all because I was just doing some silly ups and stretches in the kitchen. Because I was like, right, I'm going to train for UTMB. I want to become in the top 200. If I could do that, I'm a legend in my own right. So I'm happy. Did that and fucked me like 6 months. I basically did something to my Achilles/calf, which is a really long word that I can't spell or say, but it's about that long. And I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, challenging though. And then easy to get back on after the 6 months, I presume.
Well, I got to the point where I had an MRI and they went, oh, you can have another few months off here. And I was like, oh, I can't have this. This is obscene. So about 2 weeks later, I was like, right, let's get the shoes on. They're really light, too light. I think we started on 10 minutes or 5. I literally started like as if I was a child. It seems to be all right now. So I've not gone back to the physio and just...
Yeah, no stretching. Just stick to what you know.
Stretching, mate. Let's crack on. Like that nonsense. Let's just go. My physio, I've used him for 20 years. He's like, I ain't getting on. I'm like, just back BAU. He's like, you're an idiot. I'm like, well, John, if I come and see you, it hurts. So I'm not. I'm going to keep running.
Are there other ultra marathon runners like you? Or do they all take it a bit more seriously with the stretching things? I don't know. I'm slowly starting to see a bit of a picture of these are people that just go out and do it. And it is more of a mentality thing.
I think because you're going very slowly, you can't really damage yourself that much, really. No. Someone like Claire, who's doing the volume that she is every week, if she has a niggle, because she's doing so much volume, she'll find it quicker.
Yes.
Whereas if I had a niggle, it might take me 3 weeks to find it because the volume is just not as intense as Claire in terms of the time. I don't think a lot of it, I don't know because I don't know many. I just sort of turn up and do it. I only create a Facebook page, so I Facebook profile so I can get in one group so I can buy races off people. Literally, that's all.
Oh, you buy them last minute, people that pull out the week before.
You never need to worry about an ultra race. Pull out left, right, and centre because they're like, oh yeah, no, I'll do that. And before they're like, nah, I've done no training. But this is what makes me laugh. I want to say to them, look, just
do it anyway. You'll be fine.
The worst race I did, right? And I do like that. So did the Weymouth Ironman on the Saturday. Was it the Sunday? Whatever day it was. I had the Snowdonia Marathon on the Saturday, the week after. I'll be all right, idiot. Just say I was in pain, and the Snowdonia Marathon's hard, like not an easy marathon. Cramped after, I don't know, 8 miles, and I was cramping then. I could run for about 600 meters, then I'd have to walk for 200 to 300. I did that for the entire race.
No way.
Yeah, awful.
How do you juggle? So you don't really have a typical question I've been asking people is how do they juggle work life and the fitness stuff? Correct me if I'm wrong, but your fitness side just fits in around it when you can. There's no particular structure to it. But what's sort of coming out the other end is how do you balance that appetite to just want to go and do something last minute with the work and the family side?
So
that appetite. So say, for example, I said to you, there's an ultra on, and I've seen on that Facebook group on Friday afternoon, though, would you consider what was going on from a work and family point of view, or can you just balance it where you're presuming your wife, partner, just goes, if I know you need it, you can go and do it. How does that happen? Got a challenge the other way around, or do you got a free weekend, therefore that's when you...
Quite impulsive. So like I came back from Lanzarote so I may have seen on LinkedIn what the Brewdog guy was looking to invest in some new unicorns. Now I believe Rupert is one of those, so he needed to grab his attention, so I decided to run up a mountain while pitching it. Okay, that was what, 10 o'clock the day before. It's 7 a.m. I'm running up a mountain in some dodgy training rain shoes, which I had to throw away after because it was naturally a mountain. I thought, well, there'd be some trails. There wasn't. Quite important. I get away with it in that respect. I think I'm more conscious about work. So I break my week up in like Tuesdays where I'm sort of Tasset's daddy daycare. So I take the kids to school, I pick them up. It's like my Monday and Tuesday where between sort of obviously 9 o'clock when by the 8:45 when you drop them off, and then at 3 till say 5 or 6, I'm out. Like Tuesdays, if anyone calls me, you're not going to get hold of me because it's feel that's my time really. Just the kids, it's cool. I've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday where I call it open season. Just do what the fuck I want, basically. Whatever it needs to be done, I can then just get on with it. Then at the weekend, try and go for a couple of runs if I can. Either do it early morning or late at night. I never really do it in the day. Like I booked in like Rob this weekend. We obviously met in Derby and went for a run, but unless it's that, or I put my son for a nap for 2 hours, and because my daughter's a little bit older, I'm like, okay, well, she'll be all right. She's playing in her playroom, stuff. I can pretty bash in 15k now, so I'll just quickly go and bash 15k in. But it's no plan. When you've got young kids, you can't. I don't know how old Claire, if she's got children, if she's older or whatever they are, but she hasn't got any kids at all. Like,
she understands that that's a distinct advantage, obviously.
Oh, huge, because and it's also quite harsh. Like if your other half, let's say, isn't into fitness.
Yeah, no, I've spoken about that as well. Is your wife into it?
No, not really.
No, and that can be a challenge. That definitely can be a challenge, I think. I'm very lucky that my wife's into the same thing. She's into high rocks as much, if not more, than I am. I understand that if you meet 20 years ago, lots of the people I'm meeting, all of them, particularly them, obviously, gets pulled this way. The wife's still not bothered, or the husband's still not bothered. It can be challenging because you're not spending time with that person. Whereas Emma and I get time together on the way to the class, on the way to the events. We're going to Stockholm in a month. We'll have a couple of days at the Christmas markets afterwards, High Rocks event in the middle, but we're still getting our time with that. I understand that that's a distinct advantage for us.
Oh, hugely. But it's life, isn't it? Like, the thing is, got to crack on with it. Like, it is what it is. You'll find a way. If you want to find a way, like business, if you generally want to find a way for it to work, you'll find a way for it to work.
Yeah.
It might not be easy, it might be really hard, but you can find a way.
Yeah.
Like, it's that one step in front of the other. It is just one step. You've still got a long way to go.
And you've obviously got mates who run with you. They're interested in it. No? Who are the guys?
So Rob I met through work. So he's a text client of mine. Yeah. I met through the office. My actual mates have got no interest. They just want to drink beer and bet.
So you've obviously found some through work, and I suppose that was me leading onto it. You found work opportunity through a fitness community.
Yeah, I guess so. In a strange way, yeah. But no, yeah. My actual mates think I'm a lunatic.
Yeah, I bet.
Like I'll say, oh, I'm away this weekend doing like Glasgow, Edinburgh, and they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, class. They're like, no, you're an idiot. Like, on earth. But yeah, it's really weird. Like, my mates in it at all. Like, if I said to Pele, come on, let's go for a run, he'd literally like, oh, like I ain't having it. I'd rather sit down, have a curry, and watch Spurs get beat. Like, happy with that. That would be his just idea. No way. It's really strange, actually. None of my mates are in it at all. None.
And then these, let's call them sort of new workmates that you've met through the fitness community. There's something there, isn't there? I think the more conversations I have, like almost an element of trust that's developed if somebody's willing to put themselves through some hardship that relates into a business trust. Would you agree?
Yeah, weirdly, actually, a lot of my clients always ask, "You got coming up?" You know, I've got you go and you want some sponsorship and stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't do it for charity. And like, why not? I'm like, oh, I can't be asked to be honest with you. I know it sounds really bad, but it's just like change.
No, it doesn't. It's for you.
Exactly that. So yeah, actually, weirdly, a lot of clients and people I know just generally, it was weird. Obviously, look, the LinkedIn algorithm is a whole different ballgame. The second you put any stuff up about running or I've just completed this race, the impressions just spike.
I know. Same with me every single time.
You put some of quality on there, which is actually going to give value to their lives.
No, I basically give people a partnership framework of how exactly to run it with guaranteed ROI for nothing. And it gets like impressions. You put a post up about you and somebody doing a 10K and it's like, yeah, scales, which is great.
It's just a different conversation altogether. But yeah, no, it's loves it. LinkedIn loves a run.
I know it does, it does. Final question for business owners thinking about how to prioritize, thinking about taking the health and fitness seriously, although I'm not sure if I would class you. You do, but you do it in a different way. You do take it seriously, but you do it in a very different way to other people. One piece of advice would you give them to get them started?
On the kit.
Yeah.
They put the kit on, they'll go out. That's the hardest bit. It's out on the sofa and it's fucking freezing now. And you're like, oh, can't be arsed with this shit. If you put your kit on, you'll go. So get off your ass and put your shorts on or your leggings and just if you dress for it, you'll do it. Fact. You won't put your running stuff on, will you, and continue to sit on the sofa because you look like a plonker.
Yes. I bet there's people that have done that. You they come down, just sat down.
Well, have you ever done it?
Yeah.
Is she done? I'd literally every time I get my kit on, I'm like, all right, I'm done. I've committed now. I've popped.
Yeah, you got it. Particularly when you lace the shoes up, you're going out.
Yeah, gotta lace the shoes. I'll leave you with this one. My best ever half marathon, right? Tower, a mate of mine. Went up to do a Manchester half. Again, this was years ago. Literally none. And I'm running shoes. I'm a CrossFit. No, your nana. No, your Nike. What are they called? I've still got them downstairs, actually. Anyway, whatever they're called. And they're flat, aren't they? There's no time half on those. I was flying around that course on these CrossFit shoes. My feet were so sore. My mate was fuming. He's there with all his gear. He's been training for months. He was not impressed.
Yeah, something in it though. Relaxed attitude towards it. I love it. Appreciate your time.
Guy, legend.